Okay, so I Would Be Diogenes 2 was actually going to be the title of my demo album, which ended up being Diogenetic, and it was the title of a song that was purely instrumental. At really the first song I laid down and wrote in years when I had like my music career kind of had a soft start a couple years back where I really got serious and I started hitting the studio, and I made it through 4 songs, and they're available on all my platforms under the Diogenetic, um, what do you call it, uh, demo. But I Would Be Diogenes 2 was actually the first song I wrote on the first day when I started writing songs again. And it should be, I'll make sure it is in my casualties page on my website, and you can check it out. Yeah, it was a pretty cool instrumental. But this song began. It was a cool idea. It was a cool guitar riff matched with a beat that I wrote in a random writing session, and loved it. Its working title for the longest time was New and Cool. I didn't know what to do with it, and then had a really cynical um, period in my life when I wrote the lyrics for it. And I don't like doing political work. I don't like voicing my political opinions. I don't like really voicing my opinions on anything in the news or socially. Um, I want to make art, and I don't want to alienate anyone from my work who doesn't agree with me on stupid shit. And this song is pretty political, but it's equally harsh to everyone. It's a middle finger in absolutely every direction, from the media to liberals, conservatives, libertarians, philosophers, everyone in between. In its heart, it's a cautionary tale. I'm conveying in the lyrics to more or less, you know, um, vicariousness is something I've hated my whole life, and that's when you judge anything just because you read something about it, more or less, or living through someone else, but not actually experiencing it yourself. Because there's a lot of things you just won't understand if you sit there and judge people when you've never walked in their shoes. That it can't all be put in words, and you don't know how you're going to feel in certain situations. You really don't. There's many, and yeah, there's a lot of situations where you just have no clue how you're going to react, and then you sit there and you judge people what it's by just what you see or what you read. Like, good example, everyone wants to be a DJ. I mean, this is just a basic example that shouldn't offend anyone, but everyone wants to be a DJ. Everyone thinks being a DJ is easy. But something I did to someone once who, well, I didn't even do it to him once. I'm always, when I was a DJ, I would let people play on my gear. I didn't care. I thought, I was at a bar and we were all having fun, and I know everyone wants, when they walk past a DJ kit, they want to spin the jog wheels, or mine was all digital. I quit bringing my jog wheels to the bar because I never used them. I was basically a glorified jukebox. But yeah, so I'd let people play with my rig, and they'd have fun. They'd press some of the buttons, everyone would have a laugh, and they'd go on about their business. I never got mad about that. But there are people who, they'd always be telling me they'd want to be a DJ, and I'd offer them, because on one hand, I give them some experience, let them have some fun. But they'd get up there and they'd realize that it is not as easy as it looks. And in my opinion, it takes, even just to be a small bar DJ, it takes a good month and a half, 2 months to get your handle on, how to do it. You got to be good at public speaking, for one. Not a lot of people even have. But anyway, you know, it looks easy until you pick up that mic and the whole room's looking at you, and then it's a whole different world. And then you're sitting there and you're trying to, you know, a lot of people, they want to bring their mixes in and you know, spend hours doing their DJ set, and it's like, well, situation, man. And there was a lot of DJs around the bar I worked who, you know, always claimed to be better than me and just talk themselves up like crazy. And I never lied to anyone. I didn't care about being a DJ. I was a metal musician. I DJ'd to make money. So I had no emotions towards it. But they were sitting there playing mixes that they came up with that they loved, and most of the bar just didn't give a fuck. You know, and people would come to my bar because they knew that I'd actually play their requests. And if they weren't making requests, I tried to play the room. But if you've ever judged a DJ and you've never done it, and you just read up on it and you think about it, you're living vicariously through that DJ. You don't actually know what it feels like to be up there. And that's just a simple take on vicariousness. But people also judge people on much harsher conditions, like judging a soldier for how they act, or judging a police officer for how they act, or judging a liberal, judging a conservative, judging anyone, you know. And it's because they've never tried to understand that other person. They've never walked in their shoes. They never really put any thought to it. It's just knee-jerk reactions. Me, 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 me. And that's the world. You know, I think I wrote this like a couple years back when we were closer to 2015, when everyone was just mad at everyone and bullshit and blah, blah, blah. And then on top of that, I hated the nihilism that this culture caused. And it caused in me. I mean, my life caused me to be very nihilistic for a while, just not caring, very cynical, didn't want to go around or do anything. I just wanted to hole up and not give a fuck about the world and ignore everything and become extremely desensitized. And it's hard not to become like that in this modern world. And the I would be Diogenes too was very you know, there's kind of a few layers to that, not to get too artsy, but a lot of the song is misjudging a philosophy you don't quite understand. You know, I'm in the world of the song, I misjudged Diogenes to be a nihilist, because if you ever look him up, he just looked like someone who didn't give a fuck about anyone or anything. But he was really a very empathetic person, and his philosophy was just to take it easy and chill. But in the world of the song, I'm using that as a philosophy to be nihilistic and ignore the world. And the reason I made it to where I got more emotional at the end is I wanted to convey that this isn't really how I feel. More or less, I'm hurt and I'm hiding from the world. I don't want to be a part of the world because it looks painful, and all it seems to do is bring negativity into my life. So let's play it a little bit. So that's the start. I loved that droning guitar riff and just kept it around.
Science is another way we shit on our kid. Tell me who's gonna save the day.
So the lyrics in this song are kind of sloppy, spread out, and that's because originally the lyrics were very political, and then I decided I didn't want to go that route, so I changed them to be more broad and general for the spirit of the song.
Nihilism, cynicism, social crusade.
If you feel I contradicted anything I said in the beginning, bear in mind I wrote this over a year ago, almost 2 years ago, and I take years to write songs, and then they may convey messages that I don't even believe in anymore. I've changed, I've grown, I've evolved, so, yeah.
Into science to set us free.
that one line, the vehicle of science is another way we shit on our gifts. The the reason I say that is, and I realize it's kind of a blameless situation. It's like, look, we pour all of our scientific efforts into capitalistic ventures, and there's just no way around that. That's a free society. That's free markets. You got to go where the money is. Cry about it all you want. That's facts are facts. But in case you didn't know, immortality is a serious scientific study right now. That alone, it's like, why are we even worried about anything else? If we could live forever, that would change everything. We could share resources. Nothing would matter. You take on this whole new idealism of living 3, 4, 500 years or more until you're just ready to call it good, and we could spread out to be an I know it sounds like deep sci-fi here, but we would really have an interplanetary culture. And like, dude, we could have like a planet J.R.R. Tolkien and a planet Skyrim and a planet Witcher 3, whatever you're into. You could make a planet. You'd be around long enough to have the science to make whatever world you want to live in and raise your family in, and then get sick of that world and go to another one. You have forever. That's why when people say, oh, I don't want to live forever, it's like, of course you don't. You're not thinking outside of the box. We've been conditioned to be finite beings forever. But anyway, that science is that science is being studied. It's a plausible thing right now. And then there's also like food processors. The infancy of food processors, like creating food from molecules up out of thin air, exists. A Scandinavian experiment, they've been able to make basic carbohydrates out of electricity and air with very little energy. So eventually we'll be able to just create a steak from thin air, and we could feed the whole planet right there. But just those two examples that I gave you that are scientific possibility that you might have not even heard of, but let's pour all of our money into the next iPhone 25 that no one gives a shit about.
Counterculture fucks, cowards, hypocrites, intellectuals who never experience shit. The media tries to own your mind.
So counterculture fucks, that's the stereotypical extreme liberal. Cowards, hypocrites is a stereotypical extreme conservative, and all this other shit is everything in between. So I hope everyone is equally offended or doesn't give a shit.
And all your fellow man wants to do is fight. Counterculture fucks, cowards, hypocrites, intellectuals who never experience shit. The media tries.
Now, the reason I'm so hard on intellectuals who never experience shit is because people listen to them and believe in them and follow, and do a lot in their lives because of them. Philosophy is very important. Academia is very important, and it drives us forward as a species. But if you're the kind of person who just read something and wrote something, and all those books you read were written by people who just read something and wrote something, you get an inbred intellectual system that is no longer applicable. And there's a lot of that happening. Like, I used to write blog articles and shit like that, and online all of that information is inbred. It is just blog articles written about other blog articles written about other blog articles, so on and so forth. And then the philosophy is kind of the same way. It's like philosophy based on something another philosopher wrote, who based it off something another contemporary philosopher wrote. And I despise philosopher worship. Like, it just gets on my nerves. But and there's a downside to philosophy. You got people, because people cherry pick and misunderstand philosophies, and then it ends up hurting their lives. I had a friend living on the street, refused to improve his situation, and every time I brought up anything on social change, he'd bring up some bullshit philosophy from a real philosopher that justified his situation. You know, yeah. So that's why I'm critical of philosophy and philosophers. You got to go out and actually experience life before you sit there and make these judgments because you read something somewhere.
Your mind and all your fellow man wants to do is fight.
So the ding ding ding, like all that keyboard stuff, I like it because it kind of it's like a song that doesn't give a fuck about itself. That's the feeling I always got from it, and that's what I loved about it, because, you know, it's about cynicism and nihilism, and it just fits really well.
But I'm also the first you've probably heard say. But I'm also the first you.
Alright, so the lyric is, I'm not judging you, and I'm no better than you, and that's the truth. I mean, I don't care to be better than anyone. I said my part, and whatever happens, happens. But I still value you as a person, even if we don't agree on shit, you know? That's a problem our society kind of has right now. Just because you don't agree with someone, you don't like them or hate them. And it's like, no, you just don't agree on something. I like ketchup on my steak. I don't care if you like or dislike ketchup on your steak. And while we're on the concept, I make the best steak that I've ever had, alright? I make an amazing marinated ribeye. It is my favorite steak, and I will still put ketchup on that motherfucker, alright? And if you get mad at me for putting ketchup on my steak, honestly, it pisses me off. I don't care what you do with your steak. It's your steak. But don't make me feel like a piece of shit because I like ketchup on any steak, even the greatest steak in the world, which, like I said, is the one I can make for myself. So, yeah, you know, don't judge me, I won't judge you. We don't have to agree. We can still be friends. Let's eat our steaks. Let's keep some mutual respect. And let's go drink a beer and watch something on TV, or, I don't know, do something. Just because we don't agree on one thing doesn't... It's not the end of the world. I have no right to tell you how to raise your kids. You have no right to tell me how to raise mine. You know, shit like that. Just because we don't agree on parenting, would we not be friends? No. I don't have kids. But, you know. Soapbox over.
But I'm also the first you probably.
I think you guys get the gist. I'm not gonna lie. I have heard this song many times. I recorded it. I am bored of it. You know, I love it. It's one of my babies, just like any of my other songs. But I'm not gonna make it through the whole one. I've said my piece on it, and if it fades to dust, I don't mind. But if it provokes some thought, that'd be cool too. What I don't want it to be, what I'm hoping doesn't happen, is anyone uses it as a political, for their political platforms. I actually, if you check my website, I do have a disclaimer at the bottom. My music, anything I do that is mine, you know, there's some things that are collaborations that you can't use. You are welcome to use in anything non-profit, but it's under the understanding that you won't use it in a negative light. You know, you won't try to make me look bad with my own work. You won't use my work out of context to support something like your political views. And that's my kind of my fear with this song, is someone's gonna hear it and latch onto it, which ironically is the one of the themes of the song with the IP Diogenes too, misunderstanding something and latching onto it. That would actually be kind of funny if that happened, I guess. But hey, thank you for listening. Please check out my other work, and have an amazing day. I hope whatever you want, minus possibly a rape or murder, happens for you today. And fuck you. I love ketchup on my steak. Peace.